right, well, good morning, everyone. This is going to be a very, I guess, cozy and private session today. So we thank everyone that managed to make it on time in spite of the snow today. All right, so I guess first we'll start off by introducing the Seed Alliance staff that's present here today. I am Carolina Caedo. I am Coordinator of Development Projects at LACNIC, which is the Regional Internet Registry for Latin America and the Caribbean. And here to my right, pardon me, to my left, Vimala.
Hello, I'm Vimala Churon from Afrinic, the Internet Registry for Africa. I'm the head of external relations, and I'll be talking about the FIRE project, the Fund for Internet Research, which is also part of the Seed Alliance together with FRIDA and IGF Asia. So thank you for being here, and I hope we have a very good session.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Duncan McIntosh, the Executive Director of the APNIC Foundation, newly formed. I'm here in my role, but also, of course, representing Sylvia as the Manager of IGF Asia. And I'll be talking briefly about the projects that we've done with the gender focus and looking for advice on how we can move forward.
Wonderful. Thank you, Duncan and Vimala, for those introductions. So I would like to get started giving a bit of background about Seed Alliance, especially for those of you who may be new or may not know the work of the Alliance. So essentially, the Alliance, the Seed Alliance, is a partnership of 3 grants and awards programs from the Asia-Pacific region, Latin American, Caribbean, and Africa. The programs are IGF Asia, FIRE, and FRIDA program. And essentially, the 3 programs fund digital innovations that promote internet development in our 3 regions of work. And we also fund internet-based solutions that sort of seek to generate a positive impact on the lives of citizens in our 3 regions. So the focus of today's session is around the work of Seed Alliance and gender. Essentially, the Seed Alliance has been around since 2012. The FRIDA program was actually started by LACNIC in 2004. In the case of IGF Asia, Duncan, can you remind me when the program was launched? 2008 for IGF Asia, and then 2012 for FIRE. So the programs have been around, for quite some time in the different regions. And while we in the past have not had a specific gender focus, we have worked around issues, and we have funded projects related to gender. We have learned also from trends and the projects we have funded throughout the years. In Seed Alliance, we recognize that technology is not gender neutral. We have seen that female leadership in ICT is often a challenge in our regions. And in the 2018 cycle, we are setting out to sort of tackle more directly some of these gender issues in our respective regions through a sort of greater and more specific focus on gender-related projects. So one thing I'd like to highlight as well, some promising trend that we have seen through the Seed Alliance work in the cycle from 2015 to 2017. Around 40% of the projects that we funded were led by women. So we think that through Seed Alliance we have managed to identify again projects led by women that are showing great potential, and we're looking to sort of get behind that trend and pursue it more actively. So having said that, the reason why we also set up this session is because one of our global donors, the IDRC, is providing support for our 2018 cycle to offer 7 grants and 6 awards between the 3 regions, specifically around gender and technology. Essentially what we'll be looking to do with this support from IDRC is to scale up digital innovations across the 3 regions and also foster women's leadership in the internet development sector. Very quickly about today's forum, we will begin with a few remarks about the 3 regional programs and about how we have been working on gender, and also how we hope to tackle our new focus on gender inclusion and leadership. And then we'll invite 2 projects supported by the Seed Alliance to sort of explain how they have tackled gender. We have here Joana Varon from Coding Rights in Brazil. She'll be talking about digital rights and gender and showing some of the platforms that Coding Rights has developed. And then here to my left, we have Carlos Rey Moreno. Carlos is currently working for APC. He's currently also a board member of Sensaleni Networks. And Sensaleni Networks and and Altermundi, which is an association based in Argentina, received funding for the Seed Alliance, from the Seed Alliance, for a community networks project, and he'll be talking about sort of the relation between gender and infrastructure. So we'll get then maybe started with Duncan to share his remarks.
Thank you very much, Carolina, and good morning, everybody. I'd like to just take a couple of minutes to sort of explain APNIC's activities in the area of gender and then outline some of the ISIF Asia projects. I think the first point to make, like many of the organisations here today, APNIC's been working on gender and had a commitment for quite some time to gender activities. Like many organisations, we've had fellowship programs where we've provided fellowships to attend conferences, and we've highlighted or really focused on gender in the selection process and diversity, of course. We've run Women in ICT lunches for several years at our conferences. We've done, within the organisation itself, we've got a big commitment to diversity in our employment. And so we've had these programs going, and I think one of the things we're very keen to hear from everyone today is those sort of programs, fellowships, commitment to diversity in our workforce, Women in ICT, are pretty established and recognised, and we're really keen to go to the next level, if you like, in new ideas and new strategies to engage and really make some progress in this area. Because frankly speaking, in our region, and I have to say it's partly because of the very diverse culture of our region. We cover 56 economies in Asia. I'm sure many of you are familiar with them. There's not been a lot of progress in many of the economies in the gender area. Some of the economies have made great progress. Some have really strong commitments, but others have still a lot of work to do. And so we're looking for innovative ideas and how we can really move forward. So that's APNIC generally in terms of its gender strategies. I'd like then to look at ISIF Asia and a few of the projects that we've invested in and sponsored, and welcome now the delegates who arrived. We start back in 2012 when ISIF Asia, one of its first projects, sponsored a program in the Philippines revolving around safe motherhood and new use of SMS texting for information. In 2014, we sponsored another health program in the Philippines called Access, again using mobile technology to provide health workers with medical information, particularly around maternal care for pregnant women. Then in 2015, we worked on a very interesting project in Pakistan called Dr. Hers. And again, it was around a marketplace providing health care for female doctors in their treatment of women in Pakistan. And I think with all of those programs, you can see a fairly common thread in terms of their focus on health for women, the care of particularly maternal care for pregnant women. And again, what we're really looking for in this forum this morning is ideas about what sort of programs should we be looking to invest in ISIF Asia that can help us move ahead in the whole gender area. And I'd highlight one particular issue in that at least two of those three programs that I've just mentioned, while they were focused on women, they were all projects and activities run by men. And so, and it's in no way criticizing. They were great teams, very committed people, but the identification of projects run by women looking to help and support and develop gender is one of the real challenges areas. So I'm very interested to hear this morning from other regions and their experience identifying projects and activities developed by women. How did you find them? How do you identify them? How do you assess them? So I'll stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Duncan. Any questions? All right, I think we'll move on to Vimala then.
So I'm Vimala from Afrinic. So Afrinic is the Internet Registry for Africa. We distribute IP resources and ASN numbers, and also because of our unique mandate, we found it very useful to do initiatives such as the Fund for Internet Research to boost community projects in Africa. And I have to say that we have been focusing a lot on women, on how to include gender in boosting the ICT, because as we all know, this is the future ICT, especially in Africa, and it's really important for gender to take the lead. And I have to say, because my CEO is here, Mr. Alan Barrett, he's a very pro-gender, and I think that is very useful to have leaders that believe in gender inclusion and parity. And through Afrinic, we have been sponsoring and funding a lot of projects managed by women since 2012, when we joined the SEED Alliance together with Frida and IGF Asia. And I think that both projects are doing a really great job. And so for last year, we focused a lot on bringing women on board, fully managed program. So we have three great projects. There is one who is the AFCHICS, who is a network promoting women in technology all over Africa. They cover the 56th economy in Africa. We have also a project, Ubongo Kids, who develop quiz and apps focused on local language, which is, I think, really important, because in Africa we are so diverse, not only on culture, but also language. And they have local language help those marginalized and social excluded community to be involved. And we have our awardee, who is not here yet. She is a brilliant lady, and she has won the award because she has promoted a mobile classroom, which is basically because roads are not easy in Africa. She has built a bus who go and deliver a computer literacy to marginalized communities we don't even have internet in those regions. And Afrinic, we have last year launched the Women in Tech Summit, which was a summit bringing women who are leaders in technology to kind of mentor the young generation, to show them what difficulties we are facing today in our workplace, in family environment place, and how we have addressed those challenges and turn it into opportunities. I have to say that we also have fellowship program, and we make it very important to have equal women and men to come to our meeting, to make them get involved in our policy development process in Afrinic meeting. So this year, out of the 13 fellows, there were 8 women, and last year, out of the 10 fellows, there were 6 women. So Afrinic is really looking into this gender inclusion, and we have thought it would be good also to have women on our board, and the CEO is very keen to do that. So I think it's a matter of everybody. If we want to have women, we have to have the voice of men also, because they are part of pushing women to be on leader position. That's all from Afrinic, and as Duncan has been saying, we want to hear from you. What do you think can be done more to reach out for women, to push for them, to mentor them, and to give them the skills to just stand up and do more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vimala. Any questions for Vimala or Duncan again? All right. I guess I'll go ahead and say a few words then about LACNIC and Frida. So as Duncan and Vimala explained, for AFNIC and APNIC, LACNIC is also working quite actively on its gender agenda. We are actually happy to share with the room that we've just had our first woman appointed to our board. The organization has also been actively pursuing the involvement of women in our events and governance spaces offered by LACNIC. Next year, we will be offering, similarly to AFNIC, a set of fellowships for women in the region to write papers with the support of a mentor and present those papers on very technical subjects, if you will, at our events. So we are also sort of actively pursuing the involvement of more women in our community. Now, going to the Frida program, I'd like to perhaps start off with a couple of comments about some trends that we have seen in our region, which I think are some challenges that are also common to the Asia-Pacific and African region. So what we have seen in this, over this, I would say more than 15 years of work now, no, I should say 10 years of work, more is needed to close the gender gap in our region. We see that the gender-digital divide is very much influenced by gaps in skills, at least in the context of Latin America and the Caribbean. GSMA in 2016 published a report on digital inclusion in Latin America and the Caribbean, and they highlighted that while literacy rates in the region are high, insufficient infrastructure and teaching support for digital education prevents users from reaping the benefits of the internet. So we see definitely a gap in skills that needs to be addressed, specifically in the context of our region. Then related to the issue of gaps in skills, we also see that the gender gap extends to women's involvement, not only as consumers, but also as producers of technology, which we also find is an important issue to tackle in our region. Also, the Frida, XXVI, and FIRE, we are funds, so we are also sort of constantly looking at sort of the funding landscape for innovators in our regions, particularly the landscape for women leaders. And we find that less funding in the startup scene is going to women-led projects, which is also an issue that we understand, we'll be able to address through this new funding that's coming through the Seed Alliance. Also, we see that the gender gaps extends to the investors' world, with few women in positions of doing the investments, which is also sort of an interesting gender imbalance to think about tackling. But not everything is so bleak. In the case of Frida, we have had in the last, again, cycle, 2015 to 2017, more than 50% of leaders that were women for the projects that we have supported. We also, for the first time in 2017, ran the Women in Technology Awards. And we got very interesting initiatives applying. We had projects that were looking to bring women into careers in STEM, coding and technical jobs. We had a number of projects supporting female protest against gender and femicides in Latin America and Caribbean. We had projects that worked in the intercross of technology and storytelling, media, and the arts to tackle gender equity issues in the region. And as a matter of fact, we have here Joana Barón, who is the project that won the Women in Technology Award, and she'll be sharing some thoughts in just a minute. So in the case of Frida, what we are, again, and sort of with this goal of, seeking to hear your feedback today, the topics that we are hoping to concentrate on next year are building digital skills among women and girls, encouraging participation of women in digital markets, employing internet-based technologies for gender inclusion and the defense of women's rights, and promoting internet access and meaningful use for women and girls. So that's sort of roughly where we are headed, or the topics that we're thinking of tackling in the case of Frida program. We are very much interested in hearing your thoughts and comments on that. I will leave you with just one last thought. Yesterday, there was a session by Derechos Digitales and APC. They presented a paper that was recently published, Latin American Glimpse, Gender, Feminism, and the Internet. And we had the director of Derechos Digitales make a very interesting remark. She said that women collectives are building a feminist internet not only from a position of resistance, but also from a position of creativity. So I wanted to quote her today because I feel that what she said is something that echoed a lot with the type of work that we are hoping to do with this new funding that's coming through the Seed Alliance. Essentially, we feel that there are several places for women to occupy in technology. Sometimes, we talk about a lot of, about gender violence online and whatnot, but there's a lot more to do beyond that. Getting women involved in internet infrastructure, getting women involved in leadership roles, getting sort of having women bring creative perspectives to how we gender the internet. So I think, again, that's sort of something that we wanted to sort of highlight, that we really sort of want to push the limits and sort of be creative about how we work the nexus between gender and the internet. And I will leave it at that. I don't know if anyone has any questions. If not, I think I'll invite Joanna to speak now. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's a super pleasure to be here and an honor to get the prize, considering the list of amazing initiatives that were also listed. And in particular, to receive a prize named Frida, a woman who was ahead of her time and inspired me a lot, and I think she left her creativity as a gift for feminists and for humanity, so it's a super pleasure. So Coding Rights, it's a relatively new organization. We started 2.5 years ago, but I was already in the field of internet governance, of digital rights, and the fact that it was such a male-led field made me think, okay, now I'm going to set up an organization, I'm going to set up a collaborative board that's only composed with women, artists, developers, women that were focusing on policy making as well, and figure out what comes out from that, because I thought it would be different from what I was used to, the research centers that I was working on. So since then, we started to create projects. That the first one was Safer Nudes, was about, we were trying to tackle one of the main forms of online gender-based violence, in Brazil at least, but from a feminist perspective, and empowering women with digital tools to do whatever they wanted to. If they wanted to share their pictures and explore their sexuality, they could have the tools for that. So privacy, digital security was our entrance in the feminist agenda, bringing the digital aspect of it. But then we started to go move forward. No, we do work on violence, online gender violence, but as Carolina mentioned, I think when we talk about gender and technology, we need to go ahead and understand what does it mean. So we have been doing research and storytelling that has been posted at this platform that's called Chupadados. And one of I have like 2 researches that I'll mention here and then go to my final remarks. But one of them analyzes the tracking and how the tracking system profiles women. It's particularly focused on a story of a friend of mine. She was pregnant and she agreed to take down her privacy settings for the storytelling purposes. And across her pregnancy, she started to get bombarded with ads, reinforcing a lot of the gender roles that the feminist movement criticizes. And so the ads were very invasive. Like when she decided the name of the child, she started to receive ads from books with the name of the child, or even music suggestions, and named Julia, the name that she decided to. So we could see that even the profiling system was addressing women in a different way, and probably the profiling was not made by a woman as well. Like after the baby was born, she started to be bombarded from marketing for going to the gym, get back your body from before pregnancy. And so we thought, this is invasive, but it's not only a matter of privacy, it's also a matter of gender, being reinforced by the ads that you are seeing. You know? Another piece that we wrote was about period trackers. We also analyzed period trackers and a whole different set of them, and the amount of data that they collect, but also the logic and that was behind that was only about fertility, and again, reinforcing, none of them were feminist apps. So I'm mentioning those 2 stories just to reinforce the idea that technology is not neutral, and probably we would have completely different profiles if we want to go on profiling people, and different apps with different purposes if we had women developing those. So facing this, now in Coding Rights we are doing brainstorming sessions on what would be a trans-feminist algorithm, what would be a trans-feminist AI, because we live now in an internet environment in which we are targeted by many kinds of violence, and those kind of ads for me are violence as well. But we will move ahead, internet. We will move towards virtual reality, AI in everything, Internet of Things. And what we don't want to happen is that this sexist or male-led technology continues to those emerging technologies as well. So just to wrap here, I think my core point is I'm really happy to see the targets of Frida program. I think you are on spot for focusing not only on merging the access and basic needs, but also to push leadership and to push women to develop those technologies and to start to dig into those emerging technologies as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Joanna here? I do encourage everyone to visit the platforms that she mentions. So if you have any questions, you can approach us at the end of the session, and we'll be happy to share those links with you. Should we? Okay, Vimala, go ahead, please.
Yes. If I may, I'll ask Asia Kamukama from Uganda. She's the founder of Maendeleo Foundation, the mobile solar classroom, computer classroom, won the FIRE award this year like you. And I'm very proud to have given this award to her because they don't only break the barriers of access and computer literacy, they just bring this mobile solar all-terrain vehicle to remote areas to also, you can't come to us, but we are coming to you for education and internet. So I'm presenting Asia. She's going to tell us more about her foundation, what she's doing, the work she's doing through her mobile solar computer class, and how is gender, because I think that is really, she must have reached many challenges. So Asia.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Sorry, I have a very little voice. I'm very glad to be here. My name is Asia Kamukama from Uganda, and I'm the co-founder of Maendeleo Foundation. Maendeleo Foundation is an organization that promotes digital literacy in the whole of Uganda, and our major focus is to take technology and digital literacy to the remotest of areas. We have so many challenges in Uganda with promoting technology, especially trying to reach the unreached. Most of the areas